Good morning. Welcome to our online event, Yes and Improv. Today's program is brought to you by Parkinson's Community Los Angeles. Today, we're so fortunate to have with us Robert Cochrane, PhD. I'm Judy Yaris, Vice President of PCLA. For those of you who don't know us, we're a nonprofit that supports families living with Parkinson's through free education programs like this one, online and in-person support groups, social events, and so much more. Today's conversation is brought to you by our generous sponsors, Boston Scientific and Acadia, and by important donations from people just like you in the Parkinson's community. If you appreciate our work, please consider making a donation at PCLA.org. Your donation is 100% tax deductible. So thank you in advance. We rely on your generosity to help us to continue this important work. So now please join me in welcoming Robert today. I've had the pleasure of spending some time with Robert in Barcelona, and it was really thrilling for me, as well as participating in a couple of his groups. So I can tell you that you're in for a treat today. Robert Cochrane is a graduate of UNLV's Integrated Health Science Department. He's researching the effect of improvisation and storytelling on Parkinson's disease. He received grants from the Parkinson's Foundation and support from the Davis-Finney Foundation along the way. He is a popular, unique, and high-energy keynote speaker, bringing joy, optimism, and practical tools for people in the PD community to thrive today. Robert has a background in filmmaking. When his father, Dan, was diagnosed with PD in 2001, he shifted his artistic lens to health. So, Robert, take it away. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me. Last time I saw Judy, we were in Barcelona doing the World Parkinson's Congress together, and it was an absolute joy to do so. It is a pleasure to be here today with you all. Thank you for the fantastic opening, and I want to jump right into. I'm going to have a PowerPoint up here that'll guide us along the way, but please know this is interactive too, so that as we do things, we're going to be looking for participants, so feel free to raise your hand. Also, because it's open right now, I'm just going to call out the chat area right now. Do me a favor, if you can type something into the chat, go ahead and type anything you want to in the chat. I don't care what it is. You can type anything you want to in the chat, because it's a very important thing to know with improvisation that there are no wrong answers. So you type anything you want to. And look, Catalina is leading us off. Hello from Dancing Through Parkinson's. Well, hello to you, Catalina. Anything you want to put in there is okay. And as I will be calling out for suggestions sometimes, or feedback, or if you note something when you hear it, if you have a question or a comment, please feel free in real time. We're able to pivot. I want to make sure that everyone is heard, and also know that we will have at the end of our time today some time for Q&A. Mark saying hi from Florida. Thanks, Mark. So good to see you. Diane saying improv's a blast. Oh, you're leading in the right direction. I love that, Diane. Thanks so much. I'm going to go ahead and put up the PowerPoint right now. You keep putting things in the chat as you think and feel them. Remember, no wrong answers. We appreciate that very much. And with that, we can introduce more of what this thing is, and hopefully give you an idea of why this would be a benefit to you. So here is the logo, and feel free, if you'd like to right now, as you look at these three little guys, and maybe put in the chat if you feel like, what do you think or feel when you see these little ones right there? What do they make you feel? What do you think? What's going on with them? They represent this company, which is a nonprofit called Yes and Exercise, or for short, YACS, which should lead you to the place of understanding that they are indeed yaks. That's right. and the reason we say that is an improvisation, the foundation is that word, that phrase, yes and, the acceptance, and then the step forward. Why an exercise? Well, in Parkinson's, we talk a lot about exercise. Thankfully, we've seen exercise is very beneficial for Parkinson's. However, we know that Parkinson's is not just a movement disorder. Okay, there is emotional, psychosocial side to this disease, and we need to exercise, yes, and the same way we exercise boxing or dance or Tai Chi or anything else we do. This is an active process, a way of processing our emotions, of relating to each other, and frankly, having fun. So we like to say with this, it's funny how much this can help. We have a good time doing this. And what is this? Well, it is, as Judy mentioned, improvisation and storytelling. We're going to talk more about both of those going forward. And how you can get involved. So the first thing we want to put forward is this, that improvisation and storytelling promote freedom. And in order to understand that, you'd be better to feel it. And John Batiste does a better job of showing it than I can. So let's listen to this song. And by the way, don't just sit there. Feel free to move around your space. Stay seated, stand up, do whatever you want. But let's see some freedom as we hear this great song from John Batiste. All right, move your bodies, everybody.
When I move my body just like this, I don't know why, but I feel like free. I hear a song that takes me back, and I let go with so much freedom. Freedom, I'm gonna get, 'cause it's my freedom. I love how you talk, you speak in my language. The way that you walk, you can't contain it. Is it the shoes? Jumping kangaroo? We're overdue for a little more pressing. Now it's your time. You can shine. If you do, I'ma do too. When I move my body just like this, I don't know why, but I feel like freedom. I hear a song that takes me back, and I let go with so much freedom. Freedom, I'm gonna get, 'cause it's my freedom. Get down to get back up. If someone's around, let him look. You can't stand still. This ain't no drill. More than cheap thrills. Now it's your time. You can shine. If you do, I'ma do too. 'Cause when I look up to the stars, I know exactly who we are. 'Cause then I see you shine, you shining, you shining.
Everybody come around, everybody come on now. Everybody.
I'm stuck to the dance floor with the whole team.
All right, John Batiste doing his thing.
With the whole team.
Bring it in, everybody. Nice job. So I'm going to put out there the question to you all before I continue any further. I want to ask you, what do you see or feel regarding freedom? When you hear that word in association with Parkinson's, what do you see or feel regarding freedom? Does it affect you in any way? Because some of the research I've been doing really points pretty strongly toward this word. And so I just wonder from this room what you think about the word freedom in association with Parkinson's. Well, here's what I'm going to say as I wait for those things to come forward. There's an idea put forward by one of the most famous people to have Parkinson's, Muhammad Ali, that he said he felt like a prisoner in his own body. So the opposite of freedom. And there it is. Diane's kind of hitting that right there. I want more freedom of movement. Movement is a great way to promote freedom, moving together in community even more so. Don't want to be limited by Parkinson's. There you go. Excellent. You guys are hitting on exactly where the research has pointed toward for me too. So keep that in mind, that freedom, PD is the opposite of freedom. Wonderful. Good. Thank you, Jason. So this is the idea that we are going to use improv and storytelling to break out of the Parkinson's prison, as we call it. Okay. The Parkinson's prison can be determined sometimes by our own self-limiting mindset. And to that end, what we can do to break out of it, we move out of it. It isn't just thinking our way out of it, it's physically moving our way out of it. So thank you for leaning into that and seeing the value in what John Batiste had to offer in that song, and a good reminder for us to get you moving if you ever feel a little bit stuck or imprisoned yourself. A few things to know that we know about Parkinson's disease for sure. And by the way, there's a lot of unknown. So keep that in mind, because that to me is somewhat encouraging in a way, because it means we get to define it for ourselves And we get to say, well, my voice matters here. Okay. If you've met one person with Parkinson's disease, you know the old line, you've met one person with Parkinson's disease. Everyone's story is different. And that's the people with Parkinson's, that's the care partner, family members. We're all affected differently by what goes on with this disease. There will be change. This is a chronic illness. It's progressive. Unfortunately, as of right now, there is no cure. So that means we have to, by accepting that, we can get on to dealing with that progressive change. And is all change bad? That's a question. Well, I mean, the research points to no, not necessarily. In fact, if you've read Boz Bloom's work, The Silver Lining, it's not that, yay, I got Parkinson's disease. It's that, okay, with the proper mindset, I can determine what I want to do with this and maybe make some changes in my life based on the fact that, yep, I have Parkinson's, that can be positive. We can do things in a positive way. Now, we don't know when or what the changes will be because, again, nobody knows how this will progress for you. Every person's Parkinson's is different. Very important, as I mentioned earlier, that PD is more than a movement disorder. If you're only dealing with the physical side of Parkinson's, you're missing out on probably what I would say is at least half, maybe 2/3 of what's going on with Parkinson's. The emotional, the psychosocial, the feelings of apathy, depression, anxiety, isolation. Those are the things that we want to break through. Those are the Parkinson's prisons that we feel we can break through via improvisation and storytelling. All heroes improvise. Now, I'll put this out there, something to put in the chat. Mentioned the word freedom. How do you feel about the word hero? How do you feel about the word hero applied to you? And maybe, have you ever heard of The Hero's Journey, Joseph Campbell's work? Okay, if you have, if that inspires any thought, put it in the chat. The idea of your being a hero or you're being on a heroic journey dealing with Parkinson's disease, this great unknown, and all of us working like as diligently as we can to figure out what the heck is going on and what we can do with and about this. That to me is a hero's journey. Okay. So Catalina says, we're lucky to have so many programs to create a supportive community for those with PD. It is tough, but there is less isolation. To me, the community is the hero. Nice. It's an opportunity to find purpose. And Diane, I don't feel heroic. Diane, thank you for your vulnerability. Totally understandable. And know that within the mythic structure of the hero's journey, many, if not most heroes don't feel heroic. It is the community, pointing back to what Catalina said earlier, that can represent and help point to the heroic pieces of ourselves. Sometimes we become heroic by serving others, even when we don't feel like we have much, okay? Patricia said exactly what I said. We are all heroes once we begin to help others. Way to go, Patricia. Beautiful. Okay, so keep that in mind because it's also a principle of improvisation, and we're gonna put this forward right now. Our first game right now, and I'm gonna remove the spotlight so we can all see each other. Great. Those who choose to be on screen, this is a game you can play. If you're not on screen, totally okay. It'll just keep you from being able to play this game. And that's fine either way. You can keep your mic off. You won't need it for this. This is a game called Mirror. So what's going to happen is I'm going to start moving. And as I do, I want you to move like I do, okay? So let's just do something simple. Can everybody see that and do like I'm doing? Good, there's the hands going up, wonderful. Okay, I'm gonna start making some changes with that. So you do what I'm doing, perfect. Okay, great. Now here's what's gonna happen. There's gonna be a change to this game in just a moment. Right now you're mirroring me, but I'm going to call switch. And when I call switch, you will either begin to be the mirror yourself, or you will find someone else, because I'm not going to be the leader anymore. This room is about to change, okay? So remember, when I call switch, either you're the leader or you're following somebody else. Here it comes. Switch. And switch. Switch. Very good. And switch. And relax. Great job, everybody. Super job. So that game, if you have any feelings about that, after every game, we always reflect. What did you feel as you played that game? And I'll leave that open as we talk about it to say that there's a principle of improvisation that even without speaking, that we were able to apply. You used yes and. Yes, I see you moving, and I'm going to do the same. None of you had to creatively come up with anything. You instead were able to support what I did, offer to me the support of saying, I see you, I'm with you, and therefore let me know that what we're doing is works. And I see Catalina says choice, no wrong answer. Roger says, I felt freedom. That's great. That's so good. So that's exactly what we're doing together. And the idea for all of you connecting to someone else, exactly, Patricia, is to feel that with one another. People may think of improvisation as something like, oh, I have to be funny, or I have to tell jokes, or I have to be witty. None of that is improvisation. That's stand-up comedy, another great art form, but not what we're doing here. The goal here is to make the other person look and feel great, to support by saying yes and, okay? So keep that in mind as we go forward. First of all, what is improvisation? We mentioned this. Here's a really nice definition. Unplanned, collaborative response. Unplanned, we don't know what's about to happen. Collaborative, it happens together, nobody's isolated, and response. The first thing you think or feel is correct, okay? No wrong answers. If Parkinson's is about rigidity, improv is about fluidity, and that's really nice. We get to accept that whatever's going on with us, any movement, any thought, any sound is all correct, and it all plays. We learn to trust the unknown, and remember, Parkinson's is largely about an unknown because we don't know what's coming next, by playing in it. By trusting the unknown, we can lower anxiety and stress about what's next because we trust we will be able to improvise with what happens next, okay? So we purposefully play in the unknown. That's what we do here. As we just saw, it's more than words. So it's not just about having the thing to say. And then there is this game here that is going to use some words, actually, and we'll demonstrate a few more of how we play together. It's called Blurt. So I'd like to get, can I get, 2 volunteers maybe that I'll unmute you and you're going to blurt some stuff. This is a very simple game. Just raise your hand if you'd like to come forward and I'll unmute you. And I'm just going to ask you to play this quick game. I see Sue. Okay, great. I'm going to unmute you. And I see Thomas. Okay, I'm going to unmute you. So you'll see that button come up for you right now. And Sue can go ahead and say hi if you can hear me.
Hi, I can hear
Hey,
you.
perfect. I can hear you.
hello.
And there's Tom. I can hear you. Perfect. Okay, here's how it goes. The first round of Blurt, I want you to say any word at all. Doesn't matter which word when I call your name. Okay, just say any word at all. Ready? Sue.
Happy.
Tom.
Frank.
Sue.
Believer.
Tom.
Unbelievable.
Sue.
Hungry.
Tom.
Happy.
Perfect. Everybody give them a round of applause because you know what? They got it right. Were there any wrong words? No, there was no way to get it wrong. Now, here's the second round because you were just completely free right there. I want you to try to listen to each other carefully this time. And I want you to say the first word that comes to mind based on what the person before you said. Okay, so Sue, you're going to say a word. Tom, you're immediately going to say the first word that comes to your mind. Go ahead, Sue.
Grateful.
Serious.
Grateful, serious. Perfect. Tom, you're going to say a word. Sue, you're going to say the first word that comes to mind.
Lazy.
Motivation.
Motivation. Perfect. Super. One more time. Let's go. Sue, say a word, and then Tom, you say the first word that comes to mind.
Windy.
Scary.
Windy, scary. Perfect. Okay. Now, all of these associations are your associations. Did any of them get it? Did either of them get it wrong? No, because they're their associations. There's not one word to associate with, right? Now, here's the thing. That's the English language, which is what we in this room are using to relate to one another. We're going to take it to another level and show that the English language isn't necessary. In fact, we're going to play gibberish right now. Gibberish is a made-up language, and it sounds something like this. Sika pukaklanki, simo shankua, maksupakika, lipatonk. Okay, it's not an actual language, but it sounds like a language. It's not a sustained sound like e or a repeated syllable like bo, bo, bo. It is a makikuchilank language. Okay, so I'd like you to say a word in gibberish, any word at all that that you think we might like to hear. Tom, give me a gibberish word.
Freedaddle.
Perfect. Sue, a gibberish word.
Hakadaki.
Oh, very good, good. And one more, Tom, give me another gibberish.
Mix a pickle.
Perfect. And Sue.
Fluff, fluff.
Excellent. So these are all gibberish words. Give them a round of applause. That was well done. Did they get it? Did they get it wrong? No, it was perfect. It was right. Right. Now, here's the thing. Even though it was gibberish, there's a meaning to it. Okay. So I'm going to first have you say a word in gibberish, and I'm going to define it for you. Okay. And then we're going to turn this around. Sue, why don't you say a word in gibberish?
Luck, luck.
Block lock. That is the type of luck you get at the casino when it's completely run out. Block lock. You know, yeah, basically you're out of it. Block lock. That's what that is. And Tom, give me another gibberish word, please.
Belittle.
Belittle. That is how you feel when somebody has shrunk you down in size. You are belittled. Okay, so these are associations. I had no idea what they were going to say, and yet they gave me the gift. So now you're going to give that gift to each other. I want you to repeat the word that is said and immediately define the word. Okay, so Sue, you're going to say a gibberish. Tom, repeat the gibberish and define it for us. Go ahead, Sue.
Lockin' knockin'.
That's one of the saddest things in the English language. It's so lonesome.
So lonesome. Good. And can you repeat the word? Did you hear the word?
No,
That's okay. That's
Knockin',
okay.
knockin'.
So one more time,
knocking,
Sue.
knocking, knocking,
Knockin', knockin'.
knocking, knocking.
Yeah, yeah. And does that make you feel anything about why it's so sad, Tom?
It just sort of came off that way. It just sort of, it was a frame of mind almost.
Perfect. All right, Tom. Now you're going to say a word. Sue, make sure you repeat that gibberish word and then define it for us. Take it away, Tom.
Sobilius.
Sibelius.
Sobilius.
Sibelius. Seems like an awfully big old word for a small disease.
Perfect. All right. Give it up for Sue and Tom. That was really great, you two. Really beautiful. So what happens in the game of Blurt is, once again, we recognize no wrong or right. You do what you can, Ginger. That's perfect. I love that. And you're connecting with someone else, as Patricia said there earlier, that they didn't know what they were about to say, and yet they trusted the unknown, responding to each other. They demonstrated unplanned collaborative response. And I really appreciate that, you guys. That was really well done. All right, let's go back and take a look at more of what we do with improvisation and how it makes us feel, okay? Because when we say it's all about connection, that's the truth. If you know, again, one of the greatest problems, not only in Parkinson's, but our society, as you know, we heard from the Surgeon General not so long ago, if it's isolation, if it's loneliness, just know that improvisation is the cure to that, because we connect, and we connect in a way that makes us feel good, makes us feel, you know, heard and seen and happy. There's those two big words. Let's talk about why they matter in Parkinson's. Yes, Parkinson's is part of my life, okay? It doesn't say, yes, I am Parkinson's, or even, yes, I have, which you could say accurately. However, it's appropriately placing it there to say it's part of my life. It doesn't define me, okay? It's accepting it, however, not denying it as many people do. So it's really important. Yes, Parkinson's is part of my life. By doing that, you give yourself the power to step into, and here's what I'm going to do because of that. Now, many people, especially early in the diagnosis, deny in some fashion. Not necessarily they have it, but maybe deny sharing it with others, or deny doing the things that they could do to make the changes to live as well as they could, all of which lead to bad outcomes. So we really encourage and exercise, play with the concept and the practical use of yes and. It is, your power lies in and. You give yourself the foundation of yes, and you get the strength of and. All right, keep that in mind. When we play, this is play over performance, especially being down in LA. You're probably familiar with improvisation. Maybe you've gone to see it in a live theatrical setting somewhere, I don't know if the Upright Citizens Brigade is still around, or Groundlings certainly is, Second City, any of those types of theaters, Comedy Sports. They do wonderful performative versions of improvisation. That's not what we do, except in rare occasions where people want to. When we want to invite people in who have no interest, maybe even a terror of improvisation, and recognize this is for you, okay? This is play. This is natural. This is what we are innately born to do, and we do very well as children, but for whatever reason, we give it up as we grow up, again, to the detriment of our health. The idea is that the person that gives the most wins, all right? This isn't about, hey, look at me. This is, hey, look at you. Here's how you're going to thrive. This is an extraordinarily giving type of opportunity. And we want to point to the fun, okay? By pointing to the fun, we allow the other person to look and feel great. And we're going to play another game that demonstrates that very thing right now. And this game is you, okay? So let's go ahead, and I'll take a few more volunteers. Raise your hand if you'd like to jump forward. This is a very simple game. The game is you. We're going to point to each other. And your job, just like in the great Martin Scorsese, gangster type films, is to call out somebody else. And you're going to do it with a big you, okay? And when you do, it's like passing them a ball. Their job is to immediately give that ball to somebody else. And you do it by saying you. Now, Ginger, I know you don't have the ability to call anybody's name because your dog's barking. But if somebody calls you out, Ginger, you just point to the screen, and I'll call out somebody for you, okay? And if you can't, if you're too busy, that's okay. So Roger, Mark, and Avery, do you guys understand how we're going to pass around the you? Okay, so make sure your voice is ready, okay? And you say their name, and you give them a big you, and point to them. Ready? Here we go. Mark, you.
Roger, you.
You, Abe.
You, Ginger.
And Ginger is pointing. Good. There's the Ginger point. And I'm going to point to Roger, you, on behalf of Ginger.
You, Ginger.
Ginger points out Mark. You, Mark.
You, Avery.
You, Robert.
Yes, back to it. Give him a round of applause, everybody. Now, look, for my folks who are in here really quickly, I know it was a quick round, and there's only a couple of us here, but can you tell me, what do you feel when you're passing around a you like that, or when somebody calls your name? What do you feel?
Saying this,
Camaraderie.
Camaraderie. That's beautiful, Roger. Good. Mark, what do you feel when you're doing that?
Happy.
Happy. That's another great word. Avery, do you have a description for how you feel as you're playing that? Oh, I see you're muted. Okay. And yeah, that's fine. And Ginger, I understand you need to be muted too. So the idea, and that's okay. Do you want to unmute yourself? Are you able to? Let's see. I'll try it. If you're able to, please do.
Now I can. Playful.
Tell me, what do you feel?
Playful.
Playful is another great word. That's exactly what this is. It's a very simple way of addressing each other. There's a great phrase called visible and vulnerable that one of my favorite friends in this community uses to be seen and acknowledged in a way that makes you feel more of yourself, right? The way you want to be seen. And this game says that to each other. It's very simple. And the more people we get involved, you can imagine how silly it gets. So thank you for getting big. Round of applause to all of my players. Well done. And I'm going to go ahead and take the spotlights off, and we'll come back to where we were. Well done, everybody. Okay, so let's keep going, because I know I've got probably about 10 more minutes here before we get to some questions and answers, which I look forward to hearing from all of you. and let all of you know where you can continue to play, because this is just a small example of the way we play and how we do this with each other. Here's a little bit of the research. What's a laugh worth? Well, versus isolation, we were talking about that. Short-term benefits, stress relief. It stimulates air circulation, muscle relaxation, really great stuff. Long-term, there's benefit in pain relief and mood improvement, improving your immune system. Again, very important. And then understanding this thing, not just quality of life, but quality of laugh. Laughing spontaneously versus being stimulated, like with a tickling, for instance, or maybe laughter yoga for those of you who do it. There's different types of laughter. There's creating laughter, which means you are part and parcel to making it happen. And then there's watching laughter. And again, they have different qualities. And then finally, very importantly, there's laughing with versus laughing at. Nobody likes to be laughed at, and especially when we feel already vulnerable because of, perhaps something having to do with stigma and Parkinson's and whatever is going on in that regard. Being laughed at can really put us in a horrible place of isolation, somewhere where we feel less than. What we make sure we're always laughing with. We never punch down when we play. We play together, okay? And it's very important to understand how the laughter happens. Understand this, that the research shows that isolation, the idea of, hey, I'm going to handle this on my own, I don't need anybody else, that has been shown to have the same effect as smoking 15 cigarettes a day, okay? That it's not a static thing to be off on your own. We are hardwired for connection, okay? We are a social species, okay? And I also mentioned these 3 pillars of Parkinson's disease health. We know the movement disorder. That's generally what Parkinson's is thought of as a movement disorder. I strongly feel we have to expand that definition to allow for the other parts of Parkinson's that really have an effect, like the psychosocial, like the cognitive emotional. And those 2 areas in particular are areas where the improvisation and storytelling areas shine. I'm going to go through really quickly. This next clip is going to be available on my website, so I'm not going to show it right now, but just to point out, Rob Belushi is a good friend, and he's a performer out there in LA as well, and also was a teacher at one point, and he talks about the benefits of improvisation. I'm going to hold off just because we're short on time, but you can find this on my website or via that movie series that Judy mentioned off the top, Boys of Summer. The second film, Second Base, has Rob. bosmovie.com. The films are free. There's 3 of them, and you can see the journey that Dad and I have taken, and of course when we met Rob and saw the beginning value of improvisation. So we mentioned, if you're thinking improv's not for you, the performance problem, please remember that this is play over performance, okay? That the classroom is a safe, brave, and fun space. If we're not having fun, we're not doing it right, okay? These games, they're barely games. They're simple. They're easy to play. They become challenging over time in the curriculum I set. As people start to get it, then we're going to do things that become tougher. And then it becomes a mental exercise, which is fun. We remember the foundational game of mirror and what that means. All games build off of that. So if you understood how to play mirror, you're going to do well with improvisation. And the takeaway is that, you can learn, sometimes you're going to be a leader and sometimes you're going to be a follower. Improv gives you the opportunity to be either of those things. We know that it's not just speech that's involved. In fact, these emotions and the actions, the way we are going to dictate who we are and who we want to be. Hopefully some of you know this person. This is Brene Brown. And there's a quick emotional exercise I have here to give you a little cue into the power of emotions, okay, and how they play. How many body parts, put this in the chat, and I'll open this up right now. How many body parts with 3 letters can you name? Type them in the chat. You have 15 seconds. Ready, go. Type in all of those you can in 15 seconds. Okay, Catalina's got arm. Okay, good. And we're going to go. We got about, we're going to say about 7, 8 more seconds. 5, 4, doing good. 3, 2, 1. Oh, Tom, we see you with the capital letters. Okay, good. All right. Hang on, everybody. Good. So I see here ear, eye, let's see, arm, leg, arm, so about 4 or 5, it looks like. Yeah, somewhere in there. A toe, abs. Okay, great. Maybe 6, 7. Now, here's the thing, that with those body parts, adults tend to get somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 to 8. You're within the range. Kids, on the other hand, tend to get more like 10 to 12. And the reason why kids sometimes do better on this, well, some people say they're younger, they use smaller words, they're more creative, they're more open. Well, that's possible. All of those things are possible. Let me show you something else and see what you think about this. What about a kid might say fur or paw? Are those body parts? They are. Notice it didn't say human body parts, right? Oh, so fur or paw, Meyer. Any Spanish speakers? What if someone said ojo, eye, right? It doesn't say English body parts, right? Oh, and then the final one, this always gets everybody. What about elbow, shin, or knee? It doesn't say only 3 letters, right? So the reason I bring all of this forward is to point out these self-limiting belief systems, that you got the question of body parts are 3 letters and you did fine. However, maybe there were more words right beyond what you were asked that you weren't seeing because of self-limiting belief systems, that you thought maybe you couldn't do animals for whatever reason, or hadn't considered, or that it couldn't be in another language, or that it couldn't be more than 3, because all of those were possibilities. So keep that in mind. These are things we do, these self-imposed prisons, and we want to break our way out. I mentioned the storytelling program, and I'm just briefly putting this up here, that we're starting our next class. This is called Day 1, The Parkinson's Prison and the Hero's Journey to Escape, next week. So if you'd like to see more information about that, you can go to our website. We do use The Shawshank Redemption within that, my favorite film of all time. And we address this Parkinson's prison idea through writing. It's a 16-week curriculum class, very different than the improv classes, which are just drop-in. This is, much more involved and engaged. But if you want to go, check it out. So please just know that the Day 1 program, the storytelling program, is available, and it starts, the next version of it starts next week. At the end of the month, we're going to do another one based on Inside Out, dealing with the emotions, which is going to be great, the Pixar film. Finally, here, one more story for you. This story, Judy mentioned my dad. My dad was diagnosed in 2001 with Parkinson's, and we've been on this journey ever since. Well, one thing he lost because of Parkinson's was his ability to run. Well, thankfully, I had the ability to pick up that for him and say, hey, I'm going to take you running, because I saw a father pushing a son. And I said, could his son push his father? And the answer was yes. And this lovely company, Hoyt Running Chairs, was able to provide this chair for us. And there we are at the Beta Breakers at the top of the Hay Street Hill doing this together. And not only did the story get picked up and heard about, the Michael J. Fox Foundation folks said, well, how would you like to go to Disney World with this? And they said, you can do the 5K, 10K, half, or full marathon. And my dad said, let's do the full. I'm like, oh, geez, I'm the one pushing. So we said yes. And there we are at the Magic Kingdom last year in Disney World, and had a fantastic time. And I mentioned this too, just to let you know that this Sunday, we'll be running in Disneyland down in your neck of the woods, because we live up in Northern California, but we're coming down for the Disneyland half marathon. So these stories of what's next and how we can yes and overcome challenges, this is where all of this work comes to play. Last thing, because I know we want to get on to a few questions as we wrap up, just keep in mind that improv has a historical reference in the academic world. That's what I went to get my PhD for, because there was this paper by Northwestern and Second City. It showed a signal of efficacy. It said, yes, improv can lead to some community building. It leads to better communication and feelings of joy. And that the stories from the medical community that cause disaffection, improv can push against that. If someone has ever said to you, oh, you're lucky you don't have some other disease, or you'll be in a wheelchair by, or we don't know everything about PD, but we know a lot, we can push back against that with improvisation, okay? Parkinson's symptoms of masking, this is another thing we take on with improv. We learn to play with emotions without being hijacked by them. And I promise you, if you come to one of our classes, I'll play that game of emotional drive, so you'll see what I mean. Just to know that your emotions matter. And even if you can't express them regularly because of the masking, we have ways to play them through and recognize that, again, it's part of who you are, an important part of who you are, and we want to bring that forward. The gap in regards to research, the website will be coming up at the end here, Beth. It's yesandexercise.org. Just the why do all of this? Well, some of you know these numbers. Cancer on an annual basis, about 7.3 billion, HIV 3 billion, Alzheimer's 3 billion, Parkinson's 254 million. And the reason why, according to some people like Ray Dorsey and the other authors of Ending Parkinson's Disease, we're not getting our stories out there. Improvisation storytelling can help us tell our stories, especially with that Ending Parkinson's Disease Act heading to Senate. We need to be telling our stories loudly and clearly so that people can understand that Parkinson's, oh, it's not that bad. It is that bad. We do need the research dollars. We have to change the direction, okay? And that means raising our voices and understanding what PD is from the inside out. All of your voices matter, okay? The research, yes, that's in dollars, Barbara, 254 million versus the billions. That's how little Parkinson's gets nationally from the government grants, the United States government grants. Remember that your story is data with soul. Okay, so that the research that, instead of doing it from the outside in, where maybe you've gone to these studies, and that's great, you are doing it from the inside out. Your stories matter, okay? This fresh data that comes out that you learn from improvising and telling your story, well, that's yours to use. And whether you want to have a blog or a book or a podcast or go testify in front of, the Senate, good on you. Let's uncover those stories so you can tell people who don't understand. That's the mission of what we're doing here, raising the voices of the people with and affected by PD. Care partners, family members, get in here, play with us, learn and tell your stories so that we can all have a brighter tomorrow. There it is. There's that book I mentioned. Hopefully you've read it. If you haven't, you can get a copy for free from those authors. Just look up their website, endingpd.org. And again, Dr. Dorsey says the Parkinson's community is too nice. Let's stop being nice. Let's get what we need. Let's raise our voices, all right? And the stories, according to Chris Vogler, well, why does a story matter? I know many of you folks in LA get this already, but I'll just repeat it, that stories have survival value. We don't tell them just for entertainment purposes. They're how we pass along knowledge, okay? They tell us which direction to go. They orient us. The stories direct us what's next. And they're trying to wake us up. Our stories remind us of what matters. And that's why we have to tell stories from the deepest parts of our souls, okay? The researchers need you, and that everybody, just like our friends from the Blues Brothers said, everybody needs somebody to love, okay? We love each other through our stories. We express to each other who we are through our stories. Here's the final slide. There's the website. It says .com, that's fine, .com, .org. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. You can come and check us out. We have these classes, Create New Pathways. Tuesdays at 10 a.m., we play improvisation. That's Pacific time. Thursdays at 4 p.m., thanks to our friends at the Young Onset Parkinson Network, we play online. So again, just like we did today, you sign up and you can come play with us. We have in person up here in the Bay Area. And who knows, if some of you want enough down there, maybe we can talk about getting an in-person program down there. Don't forget that storytelling program, the Parkinson's Prison and the Hero's Journey to Escape. All of that's at the website.
Robert, it was fantastic. Thank you. I knew it was going to be fun.
Yeah.
And you totally delivered this. It was great. I want to open it up right now for questions. If anyone feels like they have some questions for us.
Yeah, I see Catalina says she'd love to connect and bring it to LA. Awesome, Catalina.
Great.
Hit me up on the website. Wonderful. Let's do it. This is great. I see So Great and So True. Thank you from our reps there. And storytelling classes, yes, storytelling and improv. Go to the website, the day one part of it, you'll see that has to do with the storytelling side of it. The Jam for Joy, I think it's the tab to sign up. That's how you sign up for that. Those are our two modalities, storytelling and improvisation. Absolutely. Thanks a million to you, Diane. You're very inspiring. I love that
Could
you're
you
here.
do another workshop for it? Do another session with us now if we have some time. If there aren't questions, maybe we could do another little something.
Sure. Okay, well, we could go if let's see, how many weeks are the writing workshops? Let me answer that
Yeah,
one.
go ahead and
Sue?
answer that.
The class, the day one class goes 16 weeks. So it's once a week, 90 minutes per session. They're all Zoom classes. We have students from all over, including some international students. And what students do is we play a song, kind of like we did off the top, that's based on the theme of the week. And then we play some improv games, And then we take a look at a clip from, in the Parkinson's prison, The Shawshank Redemption, and we discuss how does this apply to the hero's journey? And then how do we take that stage of the hero's journey and apply it to our lives? We discuss, and then each student writes 1 week, just in a journal format. It's not formal writing. No one's going to get graded. We just go ahead and we share that writing with each other, and we submit that, and then everybody reads 2 other people's writing. So you read 2 other people's 1 page and just say, I feel, I notice, I'm confused by, I'm inspired by, those type of notes. We come together by sharing our writing. And by the end of the 16 weeks, you have a bunch of stories that you can therefore then do what you need to do with at that point. And you know, that's, we have some people who have started a website, a collection of these. We have other people who are podcasters who are using them. You want to write a book based on your story, whatever it is you want to do, a screenplay. That we're going to unearth things that, you know, maybe you've always had something to say, but I guarantee you, if you take the class with an open mind, you're going to find things you didn't know were there. And we're going to dig deep, and we're going to discover, hopefully, some very meaningful things. Catalina asked, are there sources for findings about how creativity positively affects the Parkinson's disease brain? A struggle I find is backing the benefits of dance movement creativity to those that may be able to fund programs. Often scientific research with stories speaks louder for those outside the community than just the stories. So that's a great point, Catalina. What I can say from, you know, my program was that the quantitative side within academia and science certainly leads the way. The qualitative side, where we're dealing more with the stories, and you know, it is scientific still. It's just it's a harder push. So recognizing that is what it is. What we know is there have been uses of qualitative research and stories that have moved mountains before, right? We certainly point to the AIDS HIV movement and what they did there, the March of Dimes, what they did there, what the Mothers Against Drunk Driving did. We can do the same thing, what the Jimmy V Foundation did, right? We can do the same thing within Parkinson's by telling our stories effectively. And, you know, people are always calling, hey, tell me your story. But the problem with most stories is they're surface level. People, you know, if they haven't taken the time or don't have the course to explore, haven't seen or been able to shape, wait a minute, what's my whole story? What are the highs and lows together? So we have a satisfying narrative that says, oh, wait a minute, Parkinson's is both that challenging, and this person is fighting their tails off to live as well as they can, you know, with, you know, underfunded research that we can all point to. So, you know, in terms of the findings, there are some research papers, Catalina, we could talk offline, and some books that certainly hint toward that, if those would help you. And I'll certainly, I'd be glad to share those with you. And come explore the cornfields of Indiana. Man, I'd love to, Roger. Hey, the cornfields of the Field of Dreams is where Dad and I, you know, have done so much of our stuff, because oh, this is a quote from Dad here, relax, it's just effing Parkinson's. He always wants me to share that. Our documentaries are baseball based because we're big baseball fans, and the Field of Dreams inspired us to go on that first journey, which was 20 years ago this year. We set out to go see all 30 Major League Baseball parks. That's the Boys of Summer story. It's where it started. And we met people with Parkinson's. We, you know, went to the Michael J. Fox Foundation. We met people with the Parkinson's Foundation. We met the country. Are there PD improv performers you could spotlight? I don't know any, you know, here's the thing. The performance aspect of PD is very new from an improv standpoint. Tightrope Theater, my friends up in Vancouver, do more with that. There is a person at Barcelona. Let me back up there. There was a performance, a live performance of improvisation, and it absolutely killed. We had like 75 people in a sold out basement in this sweaty little theater of Barcelona. And there were 6 people with Parkinson's who performed for the first time live. One of them is pretty well known in the community, Larry Gifford. I don't know if many of you know his name. He has a podcast, When Life Gives You Parkinson's. And he's a good friend, and he and I have keynoted together, and a fantastic improviser. So my friends at Tightrope Theater have more of a bent toward the performance side. So not saying that we don't, we just did a performance with them, as a matter of fact, last month. With the Young Onset Parkinson Network, a fundraiser for them. So we're doing more. If you want to learn to perform, we're happy to have you, and we can push more that way. I also don't mind recommending my friends at Tightrope, because Dan Doomsha and Rosemary and others, they're fantastic too. But either way, if that's of interest to you, yeah. And I know LA is kind of a hotbed. I certainly
It
have, I
is.
train surroundings down there. So I'd be happy to push forward more. Comedy sports is something I've been involved with. I opened the theater in Las Vegas. I know they do work. If you guys wanted to, they'd run workshops. I mean, as long as there was the interest, we could make this happen.
That's great, Robert. Thank you so much. I want to thank everyone for being here. Robert, this was just so much fun, so inspiring, so wonderful. You just really brought everyone together, and that's really what PCLA is about. We have some wonderful events coming up this month. We have our Thursday, January 18th, we have a yoga workshop with Kathleen Ross Ali. And then on Friday, January 26th, we'll be featuring Dr. Asu Bari, who will be speaking on the differences between DBS and focus ultrasound. And I also want to thank all of you for participating. This has been an amazing event for us. And if you enjoyed today's program, please visit PCLA.org and make your donation today. By donating to PCLA, you can join us in our mission to improve the lives of families in our community, along with all the other folks with Parkinson's. You can find our contact information at the bottom of the screen. PCLA is a nonprofit, and all donations are tax deductible. Please take care, be safe. Robert, thank you, and I'm looking forward to meeting you again here down in LA. Thank you so much, everyone.